I just got back from the Cowboy Bebop live experience here in Austin, Texas at the Paramount Theater. So, this will serve a little bit as a review of that experience, but more so my connection and a brief analysis of the show and its overall message and enduring legacy. First, with the experience itself, the Cowboy Bebop live. Right off the bat, I just can't recommend this experience enough, especially if you are a Cowboy Bebop fan or an anime fan or a jazz fan. One of these three criteria, and you're going to be a happy customer. I really enjoyed the fact that at the very beginning, we get to be introduced to the MC of the show. Throughout the show, there's a portion where he kind of explains a little bit more of what's going on, and I need to do some research, but it seems that he was able to get the rights for this music, put together this band, and then build a whole show and experience for the fans from it, which is, I can imagine, would be a legal nightmare. And not only have the ambition to go for it, have the love for the source material, but then also be able to work with the companies and with the director, showrunner, and writer, everything, along with everyone who owns the rights, and then to produce a show. Not only has he done that, he also plays in the show, plays trombone in the show, and runs the show. Essentially, is the MC of the night. An incredible individual. He plays harmonica, he sings, he plays trombone, and he's also the MC of it. Just a fantastic, inspiring message here that I took overall, just my connection with him, because it showed that yes, a person can be multi-talented, but it should be really focused on one thing and bringing something to life. So for me, it was the culmination and the mirror effect of seeing someone so talented, but being able to use all their talents to dial in and to focus and bring something to life. This show does not happen unless this one person makes that decision and connects all the dots and does all the heavy lifting behind the scenes to make this happen. The show itself is fantastic. I experienced this a little bit with Video Games Live, which I can only imagine has a similar foundation. That with Tomarillo, I can't remember the guy's last name, Tommy T, who is the guitarist and also somewhat of the MC of Video Games Live. I also have to look more into that story, but I know that he very much brought it to life. And without him, Video Games Live does not happen. So I believe they kind of run in parallel, one with video games, the other with anime. And both really have found a format that I think works really well. Of course, it's baited in nostalgia, but it rewards the avid viewer and the people who truly experience that medium at the beginning by having the projector screen in the back of the orchestra, of the jazz orchestra. So you're watching elements of the show, different segments from the movie, all together flash before your eyes, in sync many times with the music that's being played. They have to be using some sort of click track to stay on beat because everything is very precisely timed. And along with this, they're showing different images, they're showing different words to kind of get the audience to chant along with. They also show song titles as well, so you know kind of where you're at. And overall, man, this is just such a cool experience because you get the feelings of the positive nature of the show. It hits you in the feels, you're seeing all your favorite moments, and then you're experiencing the music live. I imagine this must be pretty similar to those that watch the Lord of the Rings orchestral experience live, or maybe the Harry Potter experience as well. But this to me was so cool to see jazz presented in this setting, because I several times throughout this night, I took a step back and imagined, would anyone be here if you didn't have the images in the back? So this brought on the bigger question, and is kind of what I want to dive deeper in here tonight, is the analysis of creating something unique and almost hiding a message or hiding beauty within something greater. In this case, with Cowboy Bebop, there's so much packed in here. On one level, you have the music. I think the guy's name is Watanabe. I may be wrong on this, the original director and writer of the show. But first to have an anime that is, on its surface, action-packed. You have a femme fatale, you have the undercover cop, you have this crazy kid, and then you have a cute little dog. Right, something that will bring at least an entry for every person or an anime fan. You have a seemingly straight-up story, a lot of action, every episode changes genre. This is built both to satisfy the casual viewer, but also it contains so much depth to it that for anyone that very quickly notices, oh wait, this is sending something deeper. With Cowboy Bebop, one of the reasons I really, really enjoy this production is how it sneaks in jazz music into an anime. And not only does it in a way as what could have been a background music, but it actually is a pivotal character in the show itself. Not only this, but it properly reflects the themes of the show, of this constant improvisation, of this constant one time, and occasionally you kind of get to a chorus, but it's always slightly different, and you truly leave the past behind because it's so focused on the present and moving forward. Jazz doesn't have time to step back into the past and relive it, even though that does form the foundation. It's just a great idea instead of, for example, rock or I mean, you have blues as well that's also used in the show, but jazz primarily reflects the themes of the show in a beautiful way. I also focused a lot this time on the images, and I'm going to rewatch Cowboy Bebop now, but the idea of how little the camera moves, but when it moves purposefully. Whenever a writer, director, cinematographer breaks down a film, I think the utmost respect is needed and care if you really plan through every scene on what is needed for this scene. How much should the camera move? Is the camera moving, reflecting, or contradicting where the characters are going in this moment of the journey? Would this moment be better suited with a camera on a tripod or a moving camera? Would this be better suited? Would it better serve the story by having music in the background or play silence, right? Use the pause. All of these ideas really come into fruition. There's a scene that was played during the show when they play a song about Jet Black, and he goes to visit his partner for the first time in a long time, and right off the bat, Jet is smoking a cigarette and tosses it down. Then his old partner says, "Oh, that's littering or whatever, right?" And throughout the conversation, it's so well written because they're of course kind of talking just shy of the core subject. They're being slightly indirect as far as the core, but close enough that you know what's going on. Anyway, they kind of each have their own differences as far as their decisions, and at the end, Jet throws a cigarette down as well to kind of start the scene and end the scene. So just a very nice bookend to just that one scene. And it made me realize just how well written this source material is. Not only that, but how well defined it is in execution and its themes and its narratives and its characters. And of course the music just blew it out of the water. And it shows truly that to really make something great, it's very, very difficult to make something great on your own. It's much easier when you have a team with you, especially funding as well, right? But the idea of having many people just immediately changes the dynamic because as one person, you have so many blind spots that you can't see. But also, there is that element of tyranny in a sense. If you are just a solo person trying to create something, yes, you have full ownership of it, I guess in a sense you distill it to your purest essence, but there is that always question of, is this being distilled to the story's purest essence, right? And not only that, but other people bring out both in the story, but also from themselves and their experience to add to this. They are both adding and also taking from it in a sense, or extracting from it, different truths that can be very easily be overlooked. I imagine, of course, in this sense, I just couldn't help but think of The Witcher and Cowboy Bebop. So in Cowboy Bebop, you only have one true female character or female lead in Faye Valentine. You have this femme fatale character. But then in The Witcher, at least let's say Witcher 3, for example, I'm using the video games at this point, you have both Yennefer and Triss Merigold, and then a couple of other side pieces literally, right, in the game. But from a writing perspective, I believe the core takeaway is you can do anything as long as you do it well. But by having the split focus in The Witcher between two love interests and having the femme fatale focus of Faye Valentine, you can just go so much deeper into a character because of the screen time, right? If you have, just by its very nature, just by having more characters in a story, you're going to have to dedicate more time to each of the different ones. And I think there is an inclination or a tendency to do this by just throwing in a bunch of characters. That is great, sure, because you get a variety. However, the variety is enough in itself if the depth of the character, I believe, is enough. Because either way, you're going to find your audience. It reminds me of the idea of also Skyrim that is wide as a lake but shallow as a puddle. That will appeal to a certain group of people. I mean, not appeal to me, appeal, of course, to millions and millions of people, of course, across the years. But then you have something else, for example, like the most recent example of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is maybe as wide as a puddle, but as deep as the Mariana Trench or something, right? That I have not played, but just seeing how people have been talking about it, it very much gets that feeling across. All in all, this experience of seeing the Cowboy Bebop live band was next level. My favorite moment was when I walked up into the line, because the line actually wrapped around the Paramount Theater. This show was sold out, which just blew my mind because it also spoke so much to the nature of modern entertainment that so much is based off nostalgia. I just felt this need of, okay, what can I create now in the moment that is new to give to these people? Because obviously there is new media being created, but I think even just now, right, for example, Wicked, Dune 2, some of the biggest hits have just been remakes or new presentations of older properties. Now, of course, there is an argument that there is nothing new under the sun, but I really do think it's time to create something new, which is why Oppenheimer was so inspiring last year or 2 years ago now. Man, yeah, it's crazy as time passes. But just the idea, okay, what can we create that's fresh, that is intentional, that is well written, that is well defined? It just inspired me to do so. Now, so just to finish on my favorite scene, when I first pulled up to the Paramount Theater, I walked into the line, and this random guy that was just in front of me, we just started talking about what songs we want to hear. He wanted to hear a couple different songs. I wanted to hear Spaceline, but I wasn't sure if they would do this song because I know it's a pivotal song in the story, but it is a very, slow song. It's a very meditative song. And bro, when I can't remember what song played before or what song played after, but when I heard the synth, because I've heard this song hundreds of times, when I heard the synth start, I was like, no way, bro, they're gonna do this. And what was cool is that it was a very minimal setup. So whenever the players weren't playing, they would go off stage. They had just three. They had the drummer, a saxophonist, and a drummer percussionist, like a Congo player, djembe percussionist. And bro, throughout the show, I knew that this saxophone player was good. You can just tell his proficiency. Everyone was super, super talented, but this guy was like the real deal, right? And they just give him the whole song. They legit let him basically freebird solo for 8 or 9 minutes on this song. And it was one of the most incredible experiences to see in person a song that meant so much to me and means so much to me. Of course, the nostalgia factor. You have the images in the background playing, which just are next level. You have this guy, this dude, just going off, giving his soul through this saxophone. I don't know if it was a Barry sax or alto. I don't know which type of saxophone it was. I believe it was a Barry sax. And man, this dude reached heaven, man. Like he took the audience there. He was in the moment. He was present. He was letting it all flow. And there was cool back and forth between him and the drummer and him and the djembe player that just amplified it so much. And during it, it was such a captivating experience because I've felt these moments before, right, where you are truly just taken somewhere that you cannot go without arts. And tonight, art took me there. This band took me there. And more importantly, all because of Cowboy Bebop, originally 20-something years ago, that was created. It makes me really think about we consume so much, and yet we produce so little. And it has inspired me to create and produce something unique, at least a humble offering, something that could maybe be my best effort, that could maybe someday mean something as what it meant to me to see Cowboy Bebop presented in this fashion. So see you, Space Cowboy.